I didn't understand why I got pied for that one in particular because I don't think I've like strung anybody along. I've never like made these empty promises. I don't get that because I've been honest with both women.
When someone says you may be sincere but you have not been honest,
I know you're sincere, but you're not honest.
that is more than a clever pie challenge line. It is actually the question at the center of this whole triangle between sincere, Melanie, and soul. When we watch something like this unfold, it is so easy to be pulled in. We start wondering, wait, is he playing games? Is she reacting to hurt? Is someone being misled? Is someone not seeing what is right in front of them? And before we know it, we are not just watching the relationship, we are trying to make sense of who is hurt, who caused the hurt, and who should have known better. But relationships are rarely that simple. People are layered and relationships are nuanced. And with sincere Melanie and soul, there are hurt feelings, confusion, jealousy, rejection, and uncertainty all happening at once. So it can be very easy to start drawing conclusions before we really understand what is happening underneath the surface for all of them. So in this video, I want to slow it down and look at the complexity of what we are witnessing on Love Island between the three of them. Because sometimes the most important lessons are not found in deciding who the villain is. They are found in asking, what is each person feeling? What are they protecting? And what are they not fully being honest about with each other and maybe even with themselves? Because when we stop judging and we start understanding people and relationships, we also learn how to offer more compassion to ourselves and others. But I do think this is where we have to talk about the difference between honest about your actions and being emotionally open about what is happening inside of you. Because someone can say, I kiss soul, and that is honest. He can say, I feel conflicted, and that may also be honest. But emotional openness goes a little further. Hi, I'm Dr. Pam, therapist and relationship counselor, and I am so excited to be back reacting to Love Island. And just to note for this video, I will be using clips from the first 9 episodes. Okay, so the question I want to explore is not just, was Sincere honest? It is, what happens when people are honest about their actions, but not fully aware of what they feel, and because of that, they cannot be fully honest with themselves or each other.
It's hard to make those like tough decisions of, okay, well, if I do this, then someone else is going to get hurt. I could genuinely see myself with both of these women. However, I can't have my way. So I gotta pick one.
Sincere shared with us that he could see himself with both Melanie and Soul. If you find yourself drawn to 2 people at the same time, that does not automatically make you a bad person. It does not automatically mean you are playing games. And in the context of Love Island, the whole setup is built around exploring connections, which has to be incredibly difficult when the person you are coupled up with is exploring someone else right in front of you. I do think he appears to genuinely like both Melanie and Soul, and I also think he may believe that he is being honest. But the deeper question is his honesty creating clarity, or is it creating more confusion? And this makes me wonder what is happening internally for Sincere. Does he get caught up in the moment with Melanie and then caught up in the moment with Soul? Does he say what he feels true when he is with each person without fully considering how those truths fit together? Does he worry about hurting someone else's feelings, so he softens what he says, or he adjusts it based on who is in front of him? Or does he say things that preserve connection in the moment because being completely open about his uncertainty might create distance, disappointment, and disconnection? And just to be clear, I am not saying that he is doing this consciously or intentionally. I actually think he may not be fully aware of these nuances within himself. But this is why this situation feels so confusing. When someone is not fully clear within themselves, they can end up giving each person reassurance in the moment while still leaving the bigger picture unclear.
He tells me I'm his number 1, but
Yeah.
I like Sincere.
Yeah.
But, dude, I feel so disrespected by him.
Yeah.
Because you tell me all of this here and you're up there for how long? Are you considering me at all? You're not considering me at all.
Sincere told Melanie she was his priority, and maybe in that moment he meant it. But then his behavior told a different story. So now Melanie is left trying to make sense of two things at the same time. His words are saying you matter most, but his behavior is making her feel like she is watching him move closer to someone else. And that is where honesty alone is not enough. Because yes, telling Melanie about the kiss matters. That is obviously better than hiding it. But honesty is not the same as emotional care. Emotional care also asks, how are my actions landing on another person? Am I creating clarity or am I creating confusion? Am I reassuring someone with my words while unsettling them with my behavior? And I think this may be Sincere's blind spot. I don't watch him and think he's a player or he doesn't care about how he impacts people. I actually think he has shown that he does care. But caring about someone and being clear with them are not the same thing. Because sometimes we can tell ourselves, I didn't lie. I said what happened. I didn't hide the facts. But the facts are not always the whole truth. Sometimes the deeper issue is that we are not fully naming what we feel, what we want, and what we are unsure about, or what we may be pulling someone into emotionally. So even if Sincere believes that he is being honest, Melanie may still feel like she is getting information without enough emotional clarity. And let me just pause here before we go deeper into Melanie, Soul, and the rest of this triangle. If you enjoy this kind of deeper relationship breakdown, I would love to invite you to check out my channel membership, because that's where I share more reflective relationship content, worksheets, and deeper lessons on emotional patterns, communication, and understanding ourselves and others with more compassion and less judgment. You can check it out by clicking join below this video. Okay, let's keep going.
I thought me and Sincere did have a good conversation, but and actions speak louder than words.
You can see that is exactly what Melanie is struggling with. How do I trust his words when his actions show me something different? And I think that is the deeper tension here. It is not just that Sincere likes Soul. It is that Melanie was being asked to trust his reassurance when his actions did not fully align with his words. But to understand the complexity of these dynamics, we need to look back where it all began when Sincere and Melanie were just getting to know each other.
Not did you, but like, are you a roster person? Be honest, don't even lie. It's okay. You're a guy. I'm a girl.
I would say so. Like, yeah.
Damn.
I mean, I would.
They both describe themselves as roster people, and Sincere says not anymore, and they laugh about it, but I would have wanted to know more, because saying I used to be a roster person can sound casual, playful, and maybe even self-aware. But the real question is, what happens when feelings get involved? What happens when someone starts to care? Can you still be clear? Can you still be honest? Can you still make sure the other person knows where they stand? Because as things continue, we start to see that this is affecting both of them more than this conversation made it seem. We witness that Sincere is clearly hurt when Melanie kisses Corbin during the bed game, and Melanie is clearly hurt when Sincere starts pursuing Soul. Sometimes people can say, I'm used to dating multiple people, or I'm open to exploring, but emotionally, they may still want to feel chosen. They may still want reassurance. They may still feel hurt when the other person they like gives attention, affection, or romantic energy to someone else. And that does not make either of them wrong. It just tells us that there may be a gap between the dating style they describe and the emotional experience they are actually having.
But you don't got to worry about nothing with me. I keep trying to tell you this. It's going to be a little bit more time until you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I do have trust issues.
I imagine that kind of reassurance can feel really good in the beginning of a relationship. It can feel calming, like, whew, okay, maybe I can relax here. Reassurance can give you hope that you are safe in this relationship. Melanie has shared that she struggles with trust issues. And I think that is important here because when someone already has difficulty trusting, they are often watching for consistency. They are listening to what someone says, but they are also watching very closely to see if the behavior matches. And that is not wrong. I always say words and actions must align. So further down the road, when Sincere says one thing, that Melanie is his priority, but then later moves closer to Soul, it makes sense that this would trigger something in Melanie. I want to be clear, I am not saying that Sincere is untrustworthy. Like I said, this is very nuanced, but I do think this is where we have to talk about the difference between honest about your actions and being emotionally open about what is happening inside of you. Because someone can say, I kiss Soul, and that is honest. He can say, I feel conflicted, and that may also be honest. But emotional openness goes a little further. It sounds more like, I care about you, but I am also pulled toward her more than I expected. Or, when I'm with you, I feel connected to you, but I'm with her. I feel something too, and I don't fully know what that means yet. So one kind of honesty about your actions gives you information, while emotional openness gives you clarity. And I understand those things would not be easy to hear, but I think that may be part of what Melanie is reacting to. She may not only be hurt that he kissed Soul or that he is interested in her, she may be hurt because she can feel that there is more happening emotionally than he is fully naming. So even if Sincere believes that he is being honest, Melanie may still feel like she is not getting the full truth. Not because he is necessarily trying to deceive her, but because his behavior is showing her that there may be more going on inside of him emotionally than he is saying out loud, or that he is even aware of. And for Melanie, who is already struggling with trust issues, that can feel deeply unsettling because she is hearing you are my priority, but she is watching him move closer to Soul. She is hearing reassurance, but she is seeing uncertainty. That is why trust is so nuanced. I know I keep using that word, but it is so important to understand the complexity. Sometimes trust is not broken because someone hides an action. Sometimes trust becomes shaky because someone gives you information, but not enough emotional clarity to know where you actually stand. So next I want to show you where Sincere pulled Kayda for a chat, and this was Melanie's response.
Now you're sneak pulling people to the side while you're telling me like, no, it's me and you, like you, me, like whatever. I understand it's super early, but like you don't have to say that. I didn't make you say that. So now you want to challenge like, oh, like take my hand and be like I just want to make sure we're on the same page and shit like that. Are you on the same page, bitch? Because it looks like you flipping through a couple. Like that's the only thing that pisses me off because I don't care about exploring.
I do wonder if Melanie sometimes tells herself things that she does not fully believe yet. Not because she is trying to be dishonest with herself or manipulative in any way, but because sometimes we say the thing we wish we felt in order to protect ourselves from the thing we are afraid to feel. So when Melanie says she does not care if Sincere explores, I wonder if that is what she actually feels, or if that is what she is telling herself or trying to convince herself of so that she feels safe and protected. Because from what we have been shown, she does seem uncomfortable and sometimes even angry with the idea of Sincere exploring other connections. And that makes sense. She likes him. She wants to feel chosen by him. And she has already shared that she struggles with trust. But the problem is that when we tell ourselves we are okay with something we are not actually okay with, the discomfort usually comes out somewhere else. And I think that is what we are seeing when Melanie questions Kayda about what she and Sincere talked about.
Like what happened?
Honestly, it was chill. It was just like getting to know each other.
Like what did he say? Like what was like tell me about?
I look at this and think this is a lack of boundaries. And I would imagine that this made Kayda feel very uncomfortable because Kayda is not really the person Melanie needs clarity from. Sincere is. So even though I understand why Melanie wants information, going to Kayda for that information puts Kayda in the middle of something that really belongs between Melanie and Sincere. And again, I don't say that to judge Melanie. I say that because this is what can happen when someone is trying to manage their anxiety.
I like you. I'm feeling you.
So am I. I've been feeling you since we walked in this hole. Like, that's what I'm saying. I feel like it's just a lot of misinterpretation. Because
Let's explore. See if you can find another connection. See if like you can vibe with someone else. Like, you don't have to ask me. Like, just go and like do your chats, do your thing, whatever.
Right.
I'm gonna do the same.
And now we are also seeing Melanie give Sincere mixed messages. She says, go explore, choose who you want, but then when he does explore, she becomes very angry and hurt. And I think that tells us something important. Sometimes people give permission for something because they want to appear secure, confident, or unbothered, but emotionally, they may not actually feel okay with it. So the message becomes confusing. On the surface, Melanie is saying, go figure out what you want. But emotionally, she may be saying, please choose me. Please don't put me in a position where I have to watch you choose someone else. And again, I don't say that to judge her. I think this is very human. But when someone says they are okay with something they are not really okay with, the other person may take them at their word and then feel confused when they are hurt, angry, or feeling resentment after. So this is another layer of the complexity. Sincere may not be giving Melanie enough emotional clarity, but Melanie may not also be giving Sincere enough emotional honesty about what she can actually handle.
I'm like, how does that look like? That's in my face. You know what I mean? Like,
that's fair.
that's hours after you're saying, like, I care about you so much.
Yeah, that's
You know,
fair.
I don't want to hurt your feelings. And then you just go and do that shit with a smile on your face.
Yeah.
Like, am I?
And now we start to see that Sincere may just be as confused as Melanie. Because this is not only Melanie struggling with Sincere exploring soul, we also see Sincere struggling when Melanie explores with Corbin. So again, this is where the nuance matters. Both of them say things that suggest they can handle openness. They both come in with laughing about being roster people and have moments when they express being open to exploring. But emotionally, we see something different. Melanie is hurt when Sincere explores. Sincere is hurt when Melanie kisses Corbin. This is where we see both of them struggle with emotional honesty. Not necessarily honesty in the sense of lying, but honesty in the sense of knowing and naming what they can actually handle and what they feel. Some of the time, they are emotionally honest, for example, naming their hurt. But it is one thing to say, I'm okay with exploring, and it is another thing to feel what it is like when someone you like is actually exploring someone else right in front of you. And that is where both of them seem to get caught. They are not only struggling with each other, they are also struggling to understand what is happening inside of them emotionally. So when they do not fully understand what they are feeling, they cannot communicate clearly, emotionally clearly. And when they cannot communicate clearly in the emotional sense, it becomes harder for the other person to understand them, trust them, or feel emotionally safe with them. And that is how confusion builds. It is not always because someone is trying to hurt someone. Sometimes confusion builds because both people are having feelings they have not fully understood and named yet. Okay, so moving forward, we see that Sincere and Melanie come back together after some challenging moments, and that is important because they do seem to have moments of repair and closeness and genuine connection. But then we get to the bed game where Sincere feels very hurt and disrespected by Melanie's actions when she goes back and forth between kissing him and Corbin. Melanie apologizes. She says she is sorry. She says that she got carried away. And she also says she did not know it was Corbin she was kissing. But this is where things get complicated again. Some of the Islanders and many viewers watching you out there struggle to believe that explanation. And whether Melanie meant to hurt Sincere or not, we can see that Sincere felt hurt. He felt disrespected. And I wonder if that moment impacted him more deeply than he fully recognizes. Because sometimes when someone feels hurt, embarrassed, or unsure of where they stand, they may not fully process that hurt. Instead, they may move towards something or someone that helps them feel wanted again. So I have to wonder if part of Sincere's pull towards Soul was not only about Soul. It may have also been connected to what had just happened with Melanie. Not in a calculated way and not in a let me get revenge way, but in a human way. Sometimes when we feel rejected, disrespected, or emotionally hurt, we become more drawn to the person who feels clear, warm, available, and affirming in that moment. And that does not mean that his connection with Soul is not real. It means there may have been more happening underneath his actions than he fully understands.
You have a great laugh.
Thank
You
you.
have a great laugh. I can't wait to have more chats with you.
Yeah. Have more kisses with you.
I'm down.
Yeah.
Super. Well, right now?
Do you want to?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so I also want to talk about Soul here because it would have been easy to leave her out of this emotional complexity and only focus on Sincere and Melanie. Soul comes in as a bombshell, and on Love Island, bombshells, as you know, are meant to shake things up. They are supposed to explore and challenge connections. So I don't think it is fair to look at Soul as though she did something wrong simply by connecting with Sincere. But that does not mean it is emotionally simple for her either. Soul is not just entering a connection. She is entering a connection that already has history, hurt, repair, jealousy, and unresolved confusion attached to it. She comes in, connects with Sincere pretty quickly, and then she also has to witness that he still has a connection with Melanie. And even if Soul has not said as much, you can see moments where she looks hurt or uncomfortable watching that closeness between Melanie and Sincere. And I think this is another layer of the nuance. Soul may be the bombshell in the structure of how the show works, but emotionally, she is still someone who wants to feel chosen as well. She may understand that Sincere has history with Melanie, but understanding that does not mean it does not hurt to see it. So now, all three of them are in a situation where each person wants clarity from someone who does not fully have clarity yet. Melanie wants to know if Sincere truly sees her as the priority. Soul wants to know if Sincere's interest in her is real, and Sincere seems to be moving between two connections without fully understanding the emotional impact on either Soul or Melanie. And that is why this is not just a simple story of he's wrong, she's jealous, or the bombshell caused drama. It is three people trying to feel chosen inside of a situation that invites exploration, and where that exploration can sometimes create uncertainty, hurt, and confusion.
I know I did shit, but I've never, ever put him in the position that I'm putting. Like, yes, there was an extent. I've never took it to this extent with Sincere.
So this is important to understand. Comparing hurt within a relationship usually does not help. Melanie is comparing what she did during the game to what Sincere is doing now. And I understand why she is doing that. She is trying to figure out what is fair. She is saying, you were hurt by what I did, but what you are doing now feels even more hurtful to me. But when both people feel hurt, it can be tempting to compare whose pain is bigger. But that usually does not lead to understanding. What matters more is whether each person can slow down, hear the impact, and take responsibility for their part. The impact of our hurtful actions is not something that we get to decide for the person that we hurt. Melanie does not get to decide how hurt Sincere should have felt by what happened with Corbin, and Sincere does not get to decide how hurt Melanie should feel watching him pursue Soul. They can each explain their intention, they can give context, but they still have to make room for the hurt that the other person experienced. Because in relationships, comparison often turns pain into a debate. but understanding turns pain into a conversation that hopefully leads with repair.
I'm sorry. So
I don't feel like I deserve to get pied for trying to talk to the only person that's been open with me.
bad thing is she wants to go for what she wants.
That's what
You know?
bombshells are supposed to do.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And this is where I believe we see Soul's vulnerability even more clearly. When Soul is chosen as someone who would break girl code, she cries. And I think that's important to talk about because from the outside, it can be easy to say, well, she came in as a bombshell. She knew what she was doing. She was there to shake things up. But that does not mean she wants to be seen as someone who would intentionally hurt another woman. And this is where the role of bombshell can be emotionally complicated. The show invites her to explore connections, but then socially she may still be judged for doing exactly what the structure of the show asks her to do. So when she gets that pie in the face, I don't think we are only seeing embarrassment. I think we may be also seeing the pain of feeling labeled. Because being interested in someone who is already connected to someone else does not automatically mean I don't care about other women or I would break girl code. It may mean she is trying to explore a connection in a situation where the boundaries are already blurry. And again, this does not mean Melanie's hurt does not matter. It does, but Soul's hurt matters too. That is why this triangle is so nuanced. Each person is trying to protect their own heart, but each person's attempt to do that impacts someone else. Sincere may be trying to be honest, but without enough emotional clarity, his honesty still creates confusion. And Melanie may be trying to protect herself from being hurt, but when she says she is okay with something she is not actually okay with, that creates confusion as well. And Soul may be trying to explore a connection, but she is doing that inside of a dynamic that already has history, hurt, and uncertainty attached to it. So I don't think the lesson here is who is the villain. I think the lesson is that relationships often get messy when people have not fully understood what they feel, what they want, what they can handle, or what their behavior is communicating to someone else. And that is why I always come back to my philosophy when I work with people struggling to understand themselves and others, and that's let's not judge it, let's understand it. Because when we slow down enough to understand people, we also learn how to have more compassion, not only for them, but also for ourselves. And maybe that is the real value in watching these moments, not to decide who is good or who is bad, but ask, where do I see myself in this? Where do I struggle to be clear? Where do I say I'm okay when I'm really not? Where do I want reassurance but have trouble asking for it? Because the more we understand these dynamics without judgment, the more we can grow in the way we love, communicate, and protect both ourselves and the people that we care about. Okay, that is a wrap for today. I must say that this one was actually a hard one to break down, so I hope you found value in it and enjoyed it. Stay tuned because there is more Love Island coming your way. See you next time.